always been within you a holy fire. A mirror that reminds you that the fight didn't come to destroy you. It came to reveal the strength God placed inside you. A mirror that declares your future is not lost. It's waiting for you to rise. This is your wake-up call. Not to become something new, but to become what you already are. There's a reason life has felt like pressure. There's a reason you've been misunderstood, overlooked, and stretched. Heaven has been waiting on you to stop surviving and start igniting. This message is not about perfection. It's about purpose. It's about the sacred collision between who you were, who you are, and who you are becoming. God is not calling you to play small. He is calling you to remember who you are. A woman with fire in her bones, with fight in her spirit, and with a future that is drenched in divine destiny. The fire wasn't a curse, it was a clue. You see, sometimes we mistake the very thing that was meant to awaken us as something meant to break us. But God doesn't waste fire. If you've ever felt like life kept turning up the heat on you, that wasn't punishment, that was preparation. The fire you felt in your spirit when you were overlooked, the fire that stirred inside you when you watched others walk in rooms you knew you were called to, that burn you couldn't shake. It was God's way of telling you, daughter, there's more in you. We live in a world that teaches us to quiet our hunger, to downplay our brilliance, to walk gently through doors we were born to own. But that restlessness you feel, that's divine discontent. That's not your enemy, that's your ally. You weren't made to be comfortable in average. You were made to carry glory. And glory doesn't fit in small spaces. That fire has been showing you what no one else could see, the capacity you carry. Sometimes fire shows up as agitation. You feel like you don't belong, like something's off, like you can't settle. You try to pray it away, numb it, ignore it. But God never meant for you to stay asleep in systems that silence your spirit. The fire is a signal. It's alerting you that you've outgrown what once served you. It's heaven saying this is not your end. We get discouraged because we think the fire means failure. That if we're uncomfortable or if things fall apart, it must be because we missed God. But what if the fire is the proof that you're right on time? Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego didn't see God before the fire. They saw him in it. The fire became the place of revelation. The furnace didn't destroy them, it validated them. And that same God who met them in the flames is walking with you in yours. You see, when you stop running from the fire and start asking what it's trying to reveal, you shift your posture. You go from asking why me to declaring, God, what are you trying to unlock in me? That's the moment everything changes. Because now the fire isn't something you're trying to escape. It's something you're learning from. And as long as you let God teach you in the fire, the enemy can't defeat you through it. You didn't get that fire from the world. That passion, that urgency, that deep knowing, it came from your Creator. You're not just emotional. You're not being dramatic. You're discerning something that hasn't yet materialized. The fire is prophetic. It's pointing you to the future you haven't fully stepped into yet. So don't curse the heat. Study it. It's showing you what God is about to birth in your life. And maybe the reason others can't relate to your fire is because they were never assigned to carry what you carry. Stop trying to explain divine discomfort to people who are comfortable in captivity. Your fire will offend those who've made peace with bondage. But that's okay. You weren't called to blend in. You were called to burn bright. The fire is how God awakens his daughters. It's how he gets your attention. It's how he introduces you to the version of yourself that fear tried to bury. The confident you, the bold you, the woman who doesn't wait for permission but walks in power. The fire is the birthplace of that woman. Fighting doesn't make you weak, it makes you chosen. There's a narrative that needs to be dismantled. The one that tells women that if they're fighting, they must be failing. That if life feels like a constant battle, something must be wrong. But let me tell you something heaven's been trying to get you to see. Your fight is not a flaw. It's a mark of distinction, a mark of favor, a mark that says you are chosen. You see, God doesn't choose people who are afraid of resistance. He doesn't assign purpose to the ones who only want peace without pressure. God anoints the woman who is willing to fight, not in her own strength, but through the Spirit that lives within her. And that fight you've been in, It's not because you're weak, it's because you're dangerous. You've got too much light in you for darkness to leave you alone. You've got too much oil on your life for hell not to take notice. The enemy is not attacking you randomly. He's responding to something powerful that's already on your life. And that's where the lie breaks. Because society wants you to believe that if you're tired, you must not be strong. That if you've been crying, you must have lost. That if you've had to pray through clenched teeth and praise through breaking points, then surely you're not anointed. But baby girl, the tears are a testimony. The bruises are a badge. The late nights, the spiritual warfare, the wrestling. It's proof that you're carrying something the enemy desperately wants to shut down. The fight doesn't disqualify you. It proves you're in the right territory. Think about Jacob. He wrestled with an angel all night. He walked away limping, but he also walked away with a blessing. Some of you are limping through life, not realizing that the very thing that left you marked was the thing that left you transformed. That limp is not your weakness. It's your witness. Every woman chosen by God had to fight through something. Esther had to fight through fear and identity. Ruth had to fight through grief and scarcity. Hannah had to fight through barrenness and shame. Mary had to fight through misunderstanding and reputation. And Jesus, he had to fight through betrayal, humiliation, and a cross. But none of them were weak. They were warriors cloaked in divine purpose. So when you feel like giving up, when you feel like the fight is too much, I need you to remember that you were never expected to do it alone. You were never supposed to fight by your own might. God never sent you into battle without equipping you for it. And sometimes his equipping doesn't look like a sword. It looks like a still spirit. It looks like a mind that refuses to cave. It looks like a woman who dares to worship in the middle of the war. Too often we're rehearsing worst-case scenarios instead of declaring prophetic outcomes. Boldness rewires your thinking. It teaches you to expect the goodness of God, not just brace for battle. Boldness says, if he called me, he's equipped me. Boldness says, even if I'm the first, I won't be the last. Boldness says, I may not have the details, but I have the go. Fighting doesn't make you less spiritual. It makes you real. It means you're doing the deep work. It means you're moving forward even when your emotions scream otherwise. It means your spirit is awake. That inner war, that's a sign that purpose is pushing through. You weren't made to surrender to defeat. You were made to stand firm and say, even here, even now, I still believe. God didn't choose you because you had it all together. He chose you because he knew you'd keep showing up. Bloody, but present. Bruised, but still praising. Confused, but not quitting. That is what makes you powerful. That is what makes you dangerous to the kingdom of darkness. You are not fighting because you're failing. You're fighting because the future needs what's inside of you. You're not in the battle by accident. You're in it because you've been called to change the outcome. Your future responds to your boldness. There's a level of breakthrough, of blessing, of becoming that only answers to boldness. Not talent, not appearance, not connections, boldness. The kind of boldness that refuses to shrink back when fear starts speaking. The kind of boldness that doesn't wait for confirmation from people who didn't create your calling. The kind of boldness that steps out of the boat while others are still negotiating with the wind. Your future is not waiting on things to line up. It's waiting on you to rise up. It's been watching how you play small, how you overthink, how you ask for permission to be what God has already affirmed. But here's the truth that changes everything. The future is voice activated. It's movement activated. It responds when you dare to move differently, speak differently, show up differently. The version of you that God sees, she's not afraid to knock on doors that don't look open. She's not afraid to build what doesn't exist yet. She's not afraid to become what no one in her family has ever seen. She is not reckless, but she is radical. And there's a difference. Radical faith will make you apply when you don't meet the requirements. Radical obedience will have you walk away from what's good because you know God has what God. Boldness is not about being loud. It's about being aligned. Aligned with heaven, with identity, with divine timing. Let me be clear. Hell doesn't fear a gifted woman. It fears a bold one. A woman who knows she's flawed but still shows up. A woman who doesn't feel ready but moves anyway. A woman who is scared and still says yes. That kind of boldness shifts dimensions. That kind of boldness activates favor. That kind of boldness turns quiet prayers into visible power. And some of us have been waiting for clarity, but clarity often only comes after obedience. You're waiting on God to show you the whole staircase, and He's waiting on you to take the first step. The blueprint isn't hidden, it's unlocked. And the key is boldness. What you refuse to move on, you delay. But what you respond to in faith, God multiplies. Remember the woman with the issue of blood? She didn't wait for an invitation. She didn't ask for approval. She broke protocol and reached. And it was that bold reach that activated healing. Your future is waiting on a reach, a decision, a yes that costs you comfort, a move that breaks your silence. Your future is standing on the other side of what you've been too afraid to do. Too often we're rehearsing worst-case scenarios instead of declaring prophetic outcomes. Boldness rewires your thinking. It teaches you to expect the goodness of God, not just brace for battle. Boldness says, if He called me, He's equipped me. Boldness says, even if I'm the first, I won't be the last. Boldness says, I may not have the details, but I have the go. And boldness doesn't always look glamorous. Sometimes it looks like boundaries. Sometimes it looks like silence. Sometimes it looks like walking away from what you once begged for. Because boldness isn't just about doing big things. It's about obeying small instructions. And those small acts of courage, they echo into the future and open up doors your comfort never could. You are not waiting on favor. Favor is waiting on your faith to move. There are things heaven has already released to your name, but it's your boldness that steps into alignment and collects it. You weren't meant to stay stuck in cycles of hesitation. You were born to disturb atmospheres with your presence. But none of that happens until you choose boldness over fear, obedience over logic, trust over control. Boldness doesn't eliminate fear, it confronts it. And when a woman becomes bold in spirit, she becomes magnetic to her future. Opportunities find her, doors open for her, room is made for her. Because the future can't ignore the woman who finally decided to believe God with her whole heart. Heaven backs a woman who refuses to shrink. There's something powerful about a woman who decides she's not going to shrink anymore. She's not louder. She's just no longer silent. She's not arrogant. She's finally aware. She's not rebellious. She's just done playing roles that suffocate her soul. When a woman stops shrinking, she doesn't just change her posture. She changes the atmosphere around her. And heaven takes notice. Because when you stand in your God-given authority, heaven backs your step. Shrinking isn't just about volume. It's about presence. It's when you walk into a room and minimize your story so others feel comfortable. When you dim your light because others haven't yet found their own. When you carry wisdom but second guess yourself before you speak. That kind of shrinking doesn't just silence your voice. It slowly suffocates your destiny. But here's the truth. You were never created to shrink into people's expectations. You were created to expand into God's promise. Heaven can't bless who you pretend to be. It backs who you truly are. And when you choose to stand up, speak up, and show up as the woman God formed in the secret place, all of heaven aligns with you. Favor finds you. Divine connections locate you. Clarity starts replacing confusion. But none of that happens when you're hiding behind a watered-down version of yourself. You are living. Let's be real. Shrinking often starts from survival. Somewhere in your past, maybe your strength was misunderstood. Your leadership was labeled as too much. Your boldness made people uncomfortable. And little by little, you taught yourself to pull back. But survival and destiny don't operate by the same code. What kept you safe in one season will keep you stuck in the next. You've outgrown your fear, and heaven is waiting on you to stop apologizing for being anointed. God does not call us to false humility. True humility is agreeing with God about who you are. It's standing in your full truth, knowing that everything you carry came from Him. Shrinking says, I don't want to take up too much space. Authority says, this is the space God gave me and I will occupy it with grace and confidence. You don't have to fight for a seat at the table when heaven built the table with your name on it. Shrinking is exhausting. You know why? Because every time you shrink, you betray the version of you that's already ready. The one that's bold, the one that's healed, the one that's not afraid to speak what God is showing her. But when you choose to stop shrinking, something in the spirit realm shifts. It's not just about being seen. It's about finally being aligned. And when alignment happens, acceleration follows. God will start unlocking opportunities that match your true identity. Doors will open not just because you're gifted, but because you're true. Favor flows through authenticity. The moment you stop trying to fit into someone else's mold is the moment you start walking in divine rhythm. Heaven has never asked you to be perfect. It asked you to be present. Fully, completely, boldly present. And that kind of presence demands courage, because there will always be critics. There will always be voices that want you to tone it down. But you were not anointed for the approval of man. You were anointed to fulfill a divine assignment. So let them talk. Let them wonder. Let them doubt. But don't let them make you shrink, because when you choose to rise in truth, when you decide to embody the fullness of your calling, you're not walking alone. All of heaven is walking with you, and there is nothing more unstoppable than a woman who refuses to shrink and walks in step with the one who sent her. Don't let delays define you. Delay is one of the enemy's favorite tools, not because it has the power to deny you, but because it has the power to discourage you. He knows he can't cancel what God has spoken over your life, but if he can convince you to believe that the delay means denial, he can talk you out of your destiny. But here's the truth. Delay is not a death sentence. It's a divine strategy. What you call delay, heaven often calls development. There are seasons when it feels like everything is paused. Dreams you've prayed over, doors you've knocked on, promises you've held on to with tears in your eyes. And the silence can feel louder than any no. But if you are not careful, delay will start whispering lies. You're behind. You missed it. You're not enough. God forgot you. Those lies sound logical in waiting seasons, but they are not rooted in heaven's truth. Because in the kingdom, timing is not based on the clock. It's based on readiness. Sometimes God delays a thing not because you aren't worthy of it, but because he's building a foundation that can hold the weight of the promise. You think you're just waiting on a breakthrough. But sometimes God is waiting on a breaking of pride, a breaking of fear, a breaking of the parts of you that would sabotage what you're asking him for. So don't despise the delay. Investigate it. Ask God what he's doing in it. Because nothing in your life is being wasted, not even the wait. Think about David. He was anointed to be king as a teenager, but he didn't sit on the throne until years later. In between the oil and the crown was delay. But that delay developed him. It taught him how to fight giants, how to honor authority, how to lean on God when no one else understood his journey. If he had been crowned before he was ready, he would have ruled prematurely. But because he embraced the process, when the moment came, he didn't just take the throne, he kept it. The same goes for you. Just because you haven't seen the fruit yet doesn't mean the seed wasn't real. Delay doesn't cancel the promise. It deepens your roots. It builds your resilience. It reveals what you're really anchored in. Are you anchored in outcomes or in obedience? Are you trusting in timelines or in truth? The waiting season exposes what you believe. And if you let it, it will refine you into a woman who doesn't just receive the blessing, she stewards it. You don't get to control the timing, but you do get to control your posture. Don't fold in the delay. Don't downgrade your dream just because it's taking longer than you thought. What God placed inside of you is still valid. The vision is still holy. The calling is still alive. Just because the world moves fast doesn't mean heaven does. God moves in precision, not panic. And when he moves, it will be right, it will be full, and it will be worth every moment you waited. And here's the thing. What feels like a delay to you may actually be God's mercy. He sees what you don't. He's protecting you from a level you're not yet prepared to carry. He's guarding your gift from exposure before maturity. And when you finally walk into what you've been praying for, you'll realize that the delay was not a punishment, It was protection. Don't let a delay make you question your identity. Don't let it mute your worship or shrink your faith. Let it build your fire. Let it sharpen your focus. Let it be the soil where